tonight on Elon Local News.
An ELN investigative report how local polling places might not be up to compliance.
We have continuing coverage of the battle between student activists and Elon's food provider.
And we take a look at next week's election from a different perspective.
All that and more.
Elon Local News starts right now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and happy Halloween. Thanks for joining us. I'm Perry Eliadrani.
And I'm Maya Eaglin. We are just 8 days away from the election, and our Andrew Feather has the information that could affect your voting in Alamance County. Andrew?
Yes, Maya. An Elon News Network investigation has found that more than half of the polling places in Alamance County could be in violation of federal law come Election Day. The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in order to protect the rights of disabled individuals. Among those rights is the right to vote. So I went to all of Alamance County's voting sites to see if they are accessible and compliant with the ADA. Here's what I found. Alamance County has 37 voting sites spread across the county. After visiting all of them, an ENN investigation found potential ADA violations at more than half. Many of the violations are relatively minor, like the need to put up temporary signs or parking pads. Director of the Alamance County Board of Elections, Kathy Holland, says there are plans to address that before the election. Holland says she has been spending her time this week training poll workers and monitoring early voting sites and was unavailable for an interview. She did send ENN the following statement. In 2003, the Alamance County Board of Elections began performing ADA surveys of each polling site. This was done in collaboration with the NC State Board of Elections' efforts to make polling places in North Carolina ADA accessible. All new sites must be surveyed before the site can be used on Election Day or as an early voting site. We use temporary signage, varying routes for accessible access, curbside assistance, and greeter assistance to inform voters of their options and to offer accessible access to the polling places. But outside of temporary fixes, there are some other issues. According to the ADA, van-accessible parking spots must be at least 96 inches wide. But at this parking lot at the Eli Whitney Recreation Center, the inches just don't add up. That is if you can even see the spaces, which have handicap markings so faded they're barely visible. And this community center in Ossipee has parking, but the lot isn't paved and has no handicap spots, which could make it difficult for those in wheelchairs to cast their vote. But that isn't the only polling place with gravel or grass lots, which according to ADA guidelines by the United States Access Board do not meet slip resistance or smoothness requirements. 5 other locations, including a church in Gibsonville and a church in Snow Camp, also have grass or gravel parking. And some accessibility problems stretch beyond just parking. At the Civitan Clubhouse in Burlington, wheelchair-bound individuals may have a hard time navigating the gravel lot, but when they reach the step at the door, that's a whole new hurdle. And if they make their way to the side doors, which are on more level ground, they'll still find a bump in the road. Holly Stiles is an attorney for Disability Rights North Carolina.
There should not be a fear when you go to the polls that the place is inaccessible because it's supposed to be.
Stiles has worked extensively with accessibility issues at polling places and says Alamance County's problems aren't unique, but they have to be fixed.
The right to vote is a fundamental right. And so if you are discouraged or if you are experiencing barriers getting to the polling place, not only is that a violation of your rights as a person with a disability, but that is an infringement on one of your most fundamental rights.
The Board of Elections Director told me that while the board is focused on making voting sites as accessible as possible, sometimes it's hard, especially in rural areas where there are a lack of potential polling places. I'm Andrew Feather, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. The NAACP has asked a federal court to stop some boards of election in North Carolina from removing people from voter registration rolls. The lawsuit filed today names state and county boards in Moore and Beaufort counties where the legitimacy of thousands of voters has been challenged. Through the National Voter Registration Act, boards of elections are prohibited from clearing voting names from the rolls within 90 days of a federal election. State law does not place the same restriction on individual challenges.
A C-SPAN bus made a pit stop at Elon behind the Belk Library this afternoon from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The bus travels across the country to schools, universities, and political events, letting people climb inside and gather unbiased information about the election, local and federal governments through interactive technology. Marketing representative for C-SPAN Janae Green told us a little bit more about what students could expect from the C-SPAN bus.
We will show you that full coverage of all 4 candidates, whether it's the major parties or the smaller parties, it doesn't matter, and give you that information so that you can make an informed decision whether you want to vote one way or the other, or whether you would like to vote at all.
And with the election just 8 days away, be sure to tune into our live coverage next Tuesday at 8 p.m. We'll have correspondents covering national and state races, in-studio guests, and political coverage from an Elon perspective. Tune in November 8th at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live.
Now an update on a story we brought you a few weeks ago. One Elon student is leading a nationwide petition to get Elon's food provider, Aramark, to change its policies. Aramark directly contacted ENN with a response to her petition. Brooke Wivag has more on Aramark's answer and the future of the campaign.
The Humane League's petition to get Aramark to change its policies already has more than 90,000 signatures.
A lot of people are learning about this, and especially students are very upset to learn that they're funding this cruelty.
Elon Sr. and former Humane League intern Marissa Costner is the face of this campaign that has reached schools all across the country.
I'm involved in this because I'm passionate about this issue, and it affects me as a consumer who doesn't want to fund this.
Aramark has not accepted ELN's offer to talk about this, but after seeing our original story, the company did email a statement. Aramark described the Humane League's campaign as false and misleading. They said, quote, "The sole reason for the campaign is that we are working with respected groups like the Humane Society of the U.S. and Compassion in World Farming, not them." Costner said the Humane League is not jealous and just wants Aramark to make a change.
If they're talking about making these changes with other organizations, that's awesome, and they should release that, publicly release a statement that says that. But right now, without a statement to hold them accountable based off of nothing's changing.
Costner said they are asking Aramark to make 3 changes for chickens: larger living spaces, healthier practices, and a more humane way to slaughter.
But it's going to make a difference for these animals.
Aramark responded to this saying they, quote, "take the humane treatment of animals very seriously." The Humane League did respond to Aramark's statement saying they, quote, "intend to continue our campaign until Aramark listens to its customers, including the students at Elon University, and addresses the indefensible, extremely cruel treatment of chickens in its supply chain." Brooke Wivag, Elon Local News.
For more on the campaign and Aramark's direct response to ENN, you can check out our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
If you stepped foot in or around the communication school recently, you've probably seen or heard some ongoing construction. Although Schar Hall's interior construction is finished, renovations inside McEwen and outside Schar have kept lots of heavy machinery and construction workers on campus. We talked to the School of Communications Dean Paul Parsons for updates on the progress.
So once Schar Hall opened, we moved 31 classes to this building, to Schar Hall, so that we then could finish the renovation of McEwen. We were told this week that construction will finish on the newsroom and the radio station space before Thanksgiving. Now we'll have to allow a couple of weeks probably for technology to come in and do the technology, the data points, etc. But certainly by the end of the semester, these 2 spaces in McEwen will be ready for move-in.
Meanwhile, during the construction, some students and faculty in McEwen have complained that drilling noises have disturbed classes. But as Dean Parsons says, preventative measures are being taken.
Had drilling going on in McEwen that has disrupted classes for at least 2 or 3 days. They have changed their schedule now, so they're going to be doing the drilling on Friday afternoons and on the weekends from here on. By the end of this semester, this project should be completed in terms of McEwen's renovation, Schar, Steers Pavilion, and the landscaping.
Even after the School of Communications renovations are finished, there will be more construction in the historic neighborhood. Renovations are planned for the Long Building as well as construction on the new LaRose Student Commons, a project announced just last week. A $2.5 million gift to the school will be used to build a new 10,000 square foot common space for the historic neighborhood right next to the Long Building. No timeline has been announced for the project.
After the break, phone scams are a problem affecting the Elon community. We have tips to help these scams from happening to you.
I'm Kyle Amato, and I'll tell you if the summer-like weather we had this weekend will last in the Phoenix 5-day forecast.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow.
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tidy.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Hey, I'm Tyler Perry. Do you know what hunger in America looks like? Well, it has many faces, and 16 million of those belong to children. Yet billions of pounds of food go to waste each year, and this is unacceptable. You can be a part of the solution. Join us in supporting the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks, which rescues our surplus foods and provides meals to many families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org today. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
We've all answered suspicious phone calls, but now scammers are targeting Elon's students via phone and email. Our Paige Barroso found out her way to make sure you are not the next victim.
Your phone rings. It's an unusual number and someone you don't know on the other end of the line asking for money.
Hello, we have been trying to reach you.
This is what is known as a phone scam, and those scammers are targeting Elon students.
I checked the voicemail. And it was like this lady talking, and it was like, you are going to be sued by the IRS unless you talk to us immediately. And they gave me a phone number to call them, and I freaked out.
The reason of this call is to inform you that IRS is filing a lawsuit against you.
You know, you go for younger or elderly, victims because sometimes they're more trusting. They don't always check the facts.
But instead of calling back, Brown made a different phone call.
I called my dad, and I was like, did something happen? Why am I getting this phone call? And he was like, oh, that is a straight up scam.
So what if this happens to you? Well, the first step is to question the caller. Ask to speak to the supervisor, or maybe even a phone number to call back later. This might throw off the scammer, so you have more time to see if it's legit. And if that doesn't work, your next call is the police.
Call the police. We'll definitely talk to you. We'll run the numbers, we'll start an investigation and see where we can go. At least maybe we can identify these folks before you're actually out any money.
And it's important to remember that scammers will try to get money and personal information via your email account too. What you see here is a common scam being sent to Elon students right now. Paige Barroso, Elon Local News.
Of course, the best way to protect yourself is to never give out personal information over the phone or email from an unverified source.
The Burlington Police Department has launched a new program to help educate the community about biking and pedestrian safety. In the past year, there have been 28 accidents involving pedestrians. The department is giving away reflective vests, slap bracelets, and pamphlets, which include laws that affect bikers, pedestrians, and cars on the road.
Just don't hand them out. We want to have a conversation with them and get them to allow us time to explain the laws, make sure they understand the laws, and we want to hear their story so that we can understand their need of the vest or the bracelet.
Currently, the Burlington Police Department is the only place where the free safety information and gear can be picked up.
Well, the weather has been amazing again, and it's the end of October. What's going on?
Yeah, it feels like a spring day today, so I hope it continues.
Well, luckily we have Kyle in the studio here to tell us what is going on. Will this continue?
Thank you so much, Maya and Perry. We were so lucky to have such great weather on Halloween weekend, or Halloweekend as we like to call it. Today on Halloween, we had a high of 69 and a low of 49 tonight. And tomorrow's November 1st, believe it or not, and we have a high of 70 and a low of 52 with partly cloudy skies. Wednesday is by far the most beautiful day this week. We have sunny skies with a high of 82 and a low of 52. Thursday, we can expect some rain in the afternoon, and we have a high of 81 and low of 52. Friday and Saturday are both sunny, and Friday we have a high of 67 and low of 40, and Saturday we have a high of 68 and low of 43. That was your Phoenix 5-day forecast. I'm Kyle Amato. Maya and Perry, back to you.
Thanks, Kyle. And coming up, a couple of Elon sports teams were back in action this weekend. And we have a follow-up about the suspensions of 5 student athletes.
And a record-breaking CDC report on STDs that could mean trouble for students.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
A new CDC report reveals colleges may be a hotbed for sexually transmitted diseases. I looked into the threat and what students can do to stay safe. In the CDC's most recent fall report, combined cases of gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis reported in 2015 reached an all-time high. More concerning to college students, people aged 15 to 24 were around half of all gonorrhea cases and almost 2/3 of all chlamydia cases. But Dr. Jeanette Archinal, a university physician at Elon, doesn't seem surprised.
It's because of the age group. You tend not to be with your, for life partner. It's very easy to be with this person this month, that person next month. If you're partying a lot, you may be with a couple of people in a week. That's why things really spread on a college campus.
Adding to the concern, North Carolina has the 3rd highest rate in the nation for both chlamydia and gonorrhea among the 15 to 24 age range, and individuals carrying the disease may not know they even have it. A big problem, but one Archinal says has a simple solution.
Condoms, 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 condoms. Seriously, that's why we have them in baskets in our waiting room. So you can just walk in and pick them up.
To help prevent STIs on campus, student health organization Sparks and Campus Health team up to help create preventative programs, the simplest of which starts with free snacks. Kylie Donahue works with Sparks and Student Health Promotions and says they spend around $1,000 every semester to keep the Sparks office in Mosley stocked with preventative supplies, which can also be sent anonymously to students' mailboxes through an online form. Students can also get free tests through a partnership with Alamance Cares, something Donahue says is important.
Sometimes it's difficult to have to go in and
speak to someone who works at your school and say, listen, like I need to be tested for these things. So having an outside source come in is sometimes almost more comforting.
Perry Elliott Durrani, Elon Local News. For more information on where you can get STI testing or treatment anonymously in the area, visit elonnewsnetwork.com.
Elon volunteers will hold a blood drive this week. The drive will be in McKinnon Hall from 12:30 to 6 p.m. on Wednesday and from 10:30 to 3 p.m. on Thursday. It was a busy weekend for Elon Athletics, and our Alex Simon is here with more. Alex, what's up?
Thank you, Maya. Well, campus is still abuzz over a report that 5 freshman student athletes were reprimanded before homecoming weekend after shooting paintballs at President Lambert's house. According to multiple sources with knowledge of the situation, 3 football players and 2 women's basketball players were suspended from homecoming weekend sporting events for what the athletic department called, quote, a violation of team rules. Before I reported the story Friday, the university and the Office of the President declined to comment. No police reports were filed on the incident, and the Office of Student Conduct did not respond to multiple inquiries for comment. All 3 football players, wide receiver Jeremiah Bridges, defensive back Khalil Moore, and defensive lineman Marcus Willoughby, were back on the field this past Saturday in the football team's 27-3 loss at Albany in New York. The 2 women's basketball players, guards Jada Graves and Madison Wilder, were not dressed for the Saturday's exhibition victory over Division II school Wingate. And it's been a rough week for the Elon men's soccer team as the Phoenix lost its 3rd straight home match Saturday night, falling to Hofstra University 3-1. Elon was able to tie the match early in the second half after a wild sequence where sophomore midfielder Amir Burkane scored on the 4th shot inside the box. But Hofstra struck back 10 minutes later, scoring 2 goals in 6 minutes to win the match. Thanks to other results in the CAA, Elon did clinch a spot in the conference playoff tournament, but the loss knocked the Phoenix out of contention for a bye to the semifinals. Elon's final regular season match is at 7 p.m. tomorrow against UNC Wilmington, and it will determine Elon's seeding, but we do know that the quarterfinal match on Saturday will be at home on Rudd Field. But it wasn't all bad news for the Phoenix this weekend, as sophomore cross-country runner Nick Sielkowski defended his title Saturday morning, winning his 2nd straight CAA championship in Newark, Delaware. Sielkowski won the 8-kilometer race in 25 minutes and 10 seconds, finishing 13 seconds ahead of the runner-up. It's a more enjoyable contrast to last year's race, where he won by 7/10 of a second in a sprint to the line. Sielkowski is once again at the CAA Men's Cross Country Athlete of the Year and will run again at the NCAA Southeast Regional Championships Friday, November 11th in Charlottesville, Virginia. And baseball fans everywhere will get to enjoy at least one more World Series game as the Chicago Cubs won Game 5 over the Cleveland Indians 3-2 last night. And while they're off tonight, Cleveland will get a chance to try for its first title since 1948 tomorrow night. And when they do, former Elon quarterback Joe West will be calling balls and strikes behind the plate. West has been umpiring in the big leagues for a record 39 years and is working his 6th World Series as an umpire. West is a 1974 graduate of Elon and was the starting quarterback from 1971 to 1973, leading Elon to the NAIA National Championship game in 1973 and setting multiple passing records at the time in school history. West was inducted into the Elon Sports Hall of Fame in 1986.
Alex, thanks so much.
Wow.
So much happened.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'll admit a little bit of bias. I'm from Cleveland, and I hope West will be calling plenty of strikeouts for the Cubs. That's all I'm saying.
Against the Cubs.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it personally will be interesting to see what happens in Game 6 because Arrieta pitching for the Cubs will make it very difficult for Cleveland. But with Corey Kluber on the mound in Game 7, if it gets there for Cleveland, I still think the Indians win the series. We'll see if it ends with Joe West behind the plate, though, for a little bit of an Elon tie that way.
Well,
Thanks
I hope you're right.
so much, Alex. Coming up after the break, we talk to some future voters about the 2016 election.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
As we get closer to Election Day, our Jackie Pascal spoke to some adorable future voters about this year's candidates.
Although these kids won't be able to vote until at least 2024, that hasn't stopped them from forming their own political opinions.
I'm going to come straight forward. I'm the only Republican here, I think. None of the candidates are really ideal in my opinion, but I would definitely have to vote for Hillary Clinton because I think Donald Trump is a liar and he's been very offensive to women. I would vote for Hillary Clinton. That's who my parents are voting for, and also I just don't really like Donald Trump.
The teachers at Blessed Sacrament Catholic School in Burlington have been breaking down the elections for their young students by watching the presidential debates and facilitating discussions.
Mainly because the kids showed a lot of interest in wanting to learn more about it.
Eggleston says the classes are split 50-50 Trump versus Clinton supporters. One issue every student brought up is Trump's language.
Really, some of the things he said are just racist and mean and kind of, and I don't want to side to just one candidate and all, but it's come down to that I just don't think Donald Trump is fit to be president. The video that was released from 11 years ago and him calling Hillary a nasty woman, it's just, I think it's very offensive.
It's really hard as a teacher to be able to say, you know, guys, we're starting 20 minutes in because you know, it's just not right for y'all to have to hear what's going on with that. And that's sad.
The students also said the biggest disagreement between the candidates is about immigration.
I don't think we should build a wall. Mexico shouldn't pay for it.
I feel like what he's doing would just lose us a lot of jobs and increase our debt.
We have to kind of increase our border security a little bit. More than what Hillary is proposing.
While elections are 8 days away, these kids will have to wait another 8 years to vote. Jackie Pascal, Elon Local News.
A reminder to tune in to our live election coverage next Tuesday at 8 p.m. We will have correspondents covering national and state races, in-studio guests, and political coverage from an Elon perspective. Tune in November 8th at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live. That's all we have for you tonight.
For all the news you need to know when we're off the air, you can check out our website at elonnewsnetwork.com.
You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Elon News Network, excuse me.
Well, from all of us here at ELN, have a great night.